I was in labor. My body was on fire, contractions hitting like waves that wouldn't stop. But that wasn't what scared me most. The nurse paused at the foot of my bed, staring at my chart like something didn't make sense. Then she looked up, and her voice was careful. Too careful. "Why would your husband mark do not resuscitate?" My whole world slowed down. I blinked hard and said, "What? I never signed that." She didn't ask another question. She turned and ran out the door, calling for the doctor. I tried to sit up, to follow, to scream. Nothing happened. I couldn't move. My legs were like stone, my arms heavy, my chest too tight to shout. Then I heard him. Right outside my door, my husband, calm, laughing quietly. And then he said something into his phone that made my blood run cold. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I was about to meet my daughter, my first child, after 9 long months of swollen ankles, midnight cravings, and quiet dreams about what kind of mother I wanted to be. I had imagined this day over and over, but nothing prepared me for how it actually felt, the mixture of pain, fear, and excitement that came in waves, each contraction shaking me to my core. The room smelled like antiseptic and the faint scent of lavender from the essential oil roller my mom had packed in her purse. The lights were dim, the beeping of monitors steady, and the air was thick with tension I couldn't name yet. I was in a private delivery room at Eastwood Memorial Hospital, tucked in a quiet corner of the maternity ward. It was raining outside. Soft at first, then heavy, then pounding. The kind of rain that makes the world feel shut off. I was gripping the bed rail so hard my knuckles had turned white. My mom, Rita, stood to my left, her hand wrapped tightly around mine. Her voice was low, calm, like the nurse she once was before retirement. "You're doing amazing, Kaya," she said. "Just breathe. You're almost there." Her presence grounded me. My mom had been my rock since childhood. She raised me on her own after my dad left, worked double shifts at the hospital, and never once let me feel like I had less. She had been suspicious of Nathan since day one. She never said it outright, but I could feel it in the questions she asked, the glances she gave him when he wasn't looking. I'd always told myself it was just a mother's protectiveness, but now I wonder if she saw something I didn't. Nathan was there too. Sitting on the bench near the window, phone in hand, legs crossed like he was waiting for a train. He had barely looked at me in the last hour. I thought maybe he was nervous. Some men don't know how to handle childbirth. I told myself not to be too hard on him. "Nathan," I said between contractions, breathless, "can you get me some ice chips?" He looked up from his phone, nodded, and walked to the little table by the wall. He brought the cup over and placed it beside me without a word, no kiss to my forehead. No, "You're doing great, babe." Just a cold silence. It felt like there was a wall between us. I didn't understand it then. We'd been married for 6 years. We met at a 4th of July barbecue hosted by mutual friends. He was funny, confident, charismatic. Everyone loved Nathan. I fell fast and hard. He proposed 8 months later. At the time, it felt like fate. Looking back, it feels like something else entirely. Our first few years were happy, or so I thought. He had a good job in insurance claims and said he wanted a family. When I got pregnant, he smiled and told me we'd figure it out. But slowly, something in him started to change. He worked later. He came home quieter. He stopped touching me. I thought maybe the stress of becoming a father was getting to him. I kept making excuses. Now I know better. That morning, when my water broke, he didn't even look surprised. He helped me to the car in silence, one hand on the steering wheel, the other tapping at his phone. At the hospital, he told the front desk he'd fill out the intake paperwork. He said I should focus on breathing. I didn't question it. "Let me take care of it," he said. "You just focus on the baby." I didn't see what he filled out. I didn't think I needed to. As the contractions worsened, I kept glancing at him, hoping for some reassurance. He stayed glued to his phone. Once he stepped outside to take a call. When he came back, he was smiling in a way that didn't reach his eyes. "I'm fine," he said when I asked who it was. "Just work stuff." I nodded, even though something in me whispered that it wasn't. I pushed that voice down. I needed to stay calm. I needed to deliver my baby. The nurse, Jenna, had been the only one in the room with a steady presence besides my mother. Mid-40s, kind eyes, a firm tone that made you trust her instantly. She had tucked my hair behind my ears, told me what was happening with every change, and made me feel like I wasn't completely alone. She smiled every time she came in the room, until that moment when she looked at my chart. She had come back after a short break and was checking my vitals when her eyes caught something at the foot of the bed. She blinked, leaned closer, and stared for a few seconds longer than she should have. Her face changed, her lips tightened, and her shoulders squared. Then she asked me that question that cracked everything open. Why would your husband Mark do not resuscitate? I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. That question didn't make sense. It didn't belong here. This was childbirth. This was supposed to be about new life, not death. I looked at her and shook my head. What? I never signed anything like that. I never told him that. That was the moment everything shifted. The rain outside got louder. Nurse Jenna's face went pale, and she turned toward the door, already calling for the doctor. My mother moved closer, her eyes wide, confused but alert, and Nathan didn't say a word. He stood in the corner with that same expression, calm, empty. I didn't know it yet, but I had just stepped into a nightmare. My pulse was racing. I didn't need the monitors to tell me that. My heart was pounding so hard it drowned out the sound of the machines, the rain outside, even my mother's voice calling my name. Kaya, she said, grabbing my arm. What did she mean? Why would Nathan sign a Do Not Resuscitate? I couldn't answer. My mouth opened, but no words came out. I was staring at the door Nurse Jenna had just run through. She hadn't looked back. She moved like something was seriously wrong. My legs wouldn't respond. I tried to sit up, to swing them over the side of the bed, to follow, but my muscles didn't listen. My body was frozen. At first, I thought it was fear. Then I remembered the epidural. My lower half was numb, useless. I was trapped in my own body, and now I wasn't sure who in this room I could trust. Nathan stood by the window, his arms crossed. He looked annoyed, not confused or concerned. Annoyed like someone had interrupted an important meeting. He didn't ask what was going on. He didn't rush after the nurse or check on me. He just stood there, watching the rain, jaw tight, phone still in his hand. Is this true? My mother asked him. Did you sign something behind her back? He turned to her slowly. His eyes didn't even flicker. She told me she didn't want extreme measures if something happened, he said. I just did what she asked. That was a lie. I never said that. I would have remembered a conversation about dying, about signing my own death over to him. I shook my head. I never said that. I never told you anything like that. Nathan didn't answer. He just looked back out the window. My mom stepped between us, her voice sharper now. I worked in hospitals for 30 years. I've seen families forge signatures and get away with it. If you lied on that form, you've committed a crime. Nathan stayed silent. That told me everything. The door burst open again. Nurse Jenna was back, this time with Dr. Patel and a second nurse I hadn't seen before. Jenna went straight to the bedside, took my hand, and leaned in close. We're going to sort this out right now. Do you feel okay? Any dizziness, nausea? I'm fine. What's happening? Is it real? Is there a DNR on my file? Dr. Patel stepped in. He was calm, but I could tell he was moving fast mentally. He had a clipboard in his hand, a printed form on top. He scanned it, then looked directly at me. This document is in your file. It has your name, your medical ID, and a signature that appears to match the one on your driver's license. Did you sign this? I didn't even look. I didn't need to. I never saw that form before. I never asked for that. I want every possible measure taken if something goes wrong. I'm having a baby. I'm not asking to die. Dr. Patel nodded and handed the clipboard to the second nurse. I want this document removed immediately, he said. Flag it. I want to verify the source, the timestamp, and the person who submitted it. Now. Everything shifted. The nurse disappeared down the hall. The doctor stepped closer to me and began checking my vitals, listening to my heartbeat, asking me questions, but my focus had locked on one thing. Nathan had stepped into the hallway just outside the room. He was on his phone again, voice low but not low enough. She figured it out, he said. No, not yet. But the doctor's looking into it. Don't worry, I handled everything already. If she doesn't make it, it's clean. My blood turned to ice. I opened my mouth to scream, to tell someone to stop him, to take the phone, to listen to what he was saying, but I couldn't get the words out. My throat tightened. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might stop. My mom heard it too. Her eyes snapped toward the door. Then she ran. She didn't wait for permission. She pushed past Jenna and stormed into the hallway. "You bastard!" I heard her shout. "You wanted her to die. You planned this." There was a loud crash. A chair knocked over. Then voices, raised and confused, and the sound of Nathan trying to talk over it. "You're all overreacting," he said. "You don't know what you're talking about." Security was called. 2 officers arrived within minutes. I watched through the open door as they moved toward Nathan, firm but controlled, asking him to put the phone down, to step away from the room. "I want to speak to my wife," he said. "She doesn't want to speak to you," Jenna said, standing in front of the bed now, arms crossed. "And until the doctor clears this up, you're not allowed back inside." Nathan looked at me through the doorway, expressionless. He wasn't angry. He wasn't scared. He looked like someone whose plan had started to unravel, like he was calculating what to say next. It wasn't shock I saw on his face. It was disappointment. I turned my face away from him. My body was still numb, but something inside me was starting to burn. He tried to kill me. He wanted me gone. And now I wasn't just fighting for my life. I was fighting for my daughter's. Everything inside me snapped into focus. The fear didn't go away, but it became something else. Fury, survival, instinct. I didn't know what Nathan had planned exactly, but I knew he didn't expect me to still be alive, conscious, and alert. That meant he had prepared for the worst-case scenario, and now that it was slipping away from him, I needed to be 10 steps ahead. I turned to Nurse Jenna, whose presence felt like the only steady thing left in the room. "Don't let him near me," I said. "No matter what he says, don't let him back in this room." She nodded immediately, no hesitation. "I won't. You're safe now." Dr. Patel re-entered with a focused expression and a tablet in his hand. He leaned in close and lowered his voice. "I've flagged the document and sent it to legal. The hospital's internal review team is already looking into it. Based on the system records, the DNR was uploaded 2 days ago from a public portal using Nathan's login credentials." I stared at him. "So he submitted it himself?" "Yes, it appears that way. It was never verified with a follow-up call or email to you. That's a major breach of protocol. We'll handle that separately, but for now we're removing him as your emergency contact and placing a red flag on your file to alert staff. Do you want your mother listed instead?" "Yes, immediately." "Done," he said. "We're going to keep a nurse posted outside your door and alert security to restrict access. He's not getting back in here unless you say so." I exhaled slowly. It wasn't relief, not yet, but it was the first step toward taking back control. Rita returned to the room, shaken but composed. She held my hand like she had when I was 5 and afraid of thunderstorms. "I heard what he said, Kaya. I heard it all. That man is dangerous. He didn't just panic or make a mistake. He planned this." "I know," I said. "I don't understand why yet. But I know he wanted me gone." The baby monitor beeped. The nurse checked the screen and gave me a thumbs up. "Heartbeat's strong. Your baby's doing just fine." That gave me the strength to keep going. For the first time since the contractions began, I felt a surge of clarity. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for her. I turned to my mother. "I need you to do something." "Anything," she said. "Go through his stuff, his bag, his pockets, his car if you can. I want to know what he brought to this hospital. I want to know if he planned to leave with my daughter without me." Her face tightened, but she nodded. "I'll get security to help. They'll take it seriously now." She left again, moving with the sharpness of someone who had spent her life in high-stress environments. I trusted her with this more than anyone. I turned to Jenna. "Can you stay with me? Until she comes back?" "I'm not going anywhere," she said, "and neither is he." Minutes passed slowly. The contractions kept coming, but I felt stronger now, mentally if not physically. My body was working to bring my daughter into the world, and my mind was working to keep us both alive. The door opened again. A security guard stepped inside. "We found a duffel bag in the visitor lounge with his name on it," he said. "It wasn't checked in properly. No ID tags. Your mother's going through it now, but we thought you should see this." He held up a folder. Inside were copies of hospital forms, multiple versions of the DNR, my medical history, insurance paperwork, and a birth plan I'd never written. It listed me as opting for no pain management, no blood transfusions, and refusing a C-section under any condition. It made me sound reckless, like someone determined to give birth without help even if it killed me. "Where did he get these?" I asked. "We think he printed them from an online form generator, then scanned and uploaded them through the hospital portal. Most of them are invalid. The signatures don't match the ones on your legal file. But he clearly had a plan." Another nurse brought in Nathan's personal tablet, which he had left unattended in the hallway. The tech team had unlocked it. On it were messages with someone saved only as G. The texts included phrases like, "Once she's gone, it's clean, and the policy is high enough." "What policy?" I asked. The nurse didn't speak, but the look on her face said everything. I knew what they meant. Nathan had taken out a life insurance policy on me. "I need to finish this delivery," I said, "and then I want a lawyer and the police." "You will get both," Dr. Patel said. "But for now, let's keep you safe and focused. You're doing incredibly well. We'll make sure you leave this hospital with your daughter in your arms." I nodded, my jaw tight. I had lost trust in someone I loved. I had been betrayed in a way that made my stomach turn. But I wasn't broken, not yet. This man thought he could erase me, replace me, silence me with a single signature. But I was still here, and I was not going to let him win. The room was brighter now. The lights overhead had been turned up for delivery prep. Nurses moved with quiet urgency, laying out trays, checking monitors, adjusting IVs. But all I could see was the doorway. I couldn't stop staring at it, half expecting Nathan to push through again, to try one last time to finish whatever he had started. But he didn't. 2 security officers stood just outside, arms crossed, watching everything. One of them gave me a reassuring nod. Nurse Jenna stood near the head of my bed, clipboard in hand, while Dr. Patel checked my vitals and the baby's position. "You're dilated to 9 centimeters, he said. "We're almost there. Try to stay calm and keep breathing." I nodded, but my mind was racing. Rita came back into the room. Her face was pale, her hands clenched around a stack of printed emails and documents. She handed them to Dr. Patel, but I caught a glimpse of one, a policy document from Liberty Mutual. My name, Nathan's signature. The beneficiary box filled in, Nathan Monroe. "I had no idea this policy existed," I said. "He took it out 2 months ago," Rita replied. "Named himself as the sole beneficiary, $2 million. The insurance rep thought it was a joint application. He forged everything." My stomach twisted. It wasn't just that he didn't want this child. He wanted me dead. He wanted to walk away clean, with money in his pocket and no ties left to the life we'd built together. Every kind word, every shared moment, every plan for the future. None of it had been real to him. He had been counting on something going wrong in that delivery room. The forged DNR, the falsified birth plan, the refusal of medical intervention. If I had passed out, if I had gone into cardiac arrest, no one would have questioned it. He had built a believable story, a wife who wanted to give birth naturally, who didn't want to be revived. It would have looked like a tragic but natural death. Then he would have walked out of the hospital a grieving husband and walked into a bank as a rich man. But I hadn't died. I had asked the right question at the right time, and Jenna had listened. Dr. Patel looked at me, his face firm but kind. "The police are downstairs. They've spoken with Nathan. He's being detained for fraud, falsifying medical documents, and endangerment. Depending on what we find in his messages, this could become a criminal conspiracy charge. You'll need to give a statement once you're stable, but for now, let us help you finish this safely." I looked at him, then at Jenna, and finally at my mom. "I'm ready," I said. The next hour was the hardest of my life. The contractions became sharper, more constant. My body felt like it was splitting open, but I refused to scream. I focused on my daughter. I pictured her face. I imagined her tiny fingers wrapping around mine. I thought of everything I had survived to bring her into this world. With each push, I poured every ounce of fear and rage and pain into the effort. "She's crowning," Jenna said. "Almost there, Kaya. Just one more." I pushed harder than I thought possible, and then, all at once, there was silence. A pause. A heartbeat. Then her cry filled the room. The sound shattered something inside me. I broke down, sobbing uncontrollably, not from pain, but from sheer overwhelming relief. Dr. Patel placed her on my chest, skin to skin. She was warm and red and perfect. Her eyes opened just enough to look up at me, and I swear in that moment I felt everything inside me change. I kissed her forehead and whispered, "You made it. We made it." My mother cried quietly beside me, one hand on my shoulder. Jenna smiled through glassy eyes. "She's healthy," the doctor said. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, strong lungs, and she looks just like you. I held her tighter, rocking her gently. The storm outside had started to pass. The thunder faded into a low rumble. The rain slowed to a drizzle. The chaos of earlier now felt like a distant echo, but the weight of what had almost happened stayed with me. I thought of Nathan, of how close he had come to getting everything he wanted. If I hadn't spoken up, if Nurse Jenna hadn't asked that question, if I had trusted the wrong silence, I had been one signature away from never holding my daughter. I turned to Jenna. "Thank you. I don't think you understand what you saved me from." She smiled gently. "It's our job to ask the questions no one else wants to. I'm just glad you were awake to answer." As the nurses cleaned up and began transferring me to postpartum care, the officer returned. "He's being transported now. We'll need a statement when you're ready. You're safe." For the first time in hours, I believed it. I was safe, and the little girl in my arms would grow up knowing her mother chose to fight, no matter how broken she felt in the moment. She would never have to question that she was loved, that she was worth every push, every tear, every breath. That man thought he could erase me with paperwork, but I wasn't a form to be signed away. I was a mother, and I was still here. I named her Lila Grace. She came into this world screaming with life, eyes wide like she already understood she had something to fight for. Holding her in those first moments changed me. Everything that had broken inside me in the hours before began to heal the moment her tiny fingers wrapped around mine. The hospital kept us for 3 more days, not because there were complications, but because the staff wanted to make sure I had what I needed, physically, emotionally, and legally. Nathan was gone by then, charged with multiple felonies, including attempted fraud, medical identity theft, and attempted murder. I gave my statement to the police the next morning, Lila in my arms and my mother beside me. I learned that Nathan had been planning my death for months. He had carefully manipulated every detail, the forged DNR, the secret life insurance policy, the altered birth plan that would have denied me life-saving treatment. His internet history showed searches like how to fake a signature and how much is life insurance for a healthy pregnant woman. There were messages to someone I didn't recognize where he talked about wanting to start over once this is done. The betrayal ran deep. He had once been the person I imagined raising a family with. We had laughed together in the kitchen. We had chosen nursery paint colors. He had kissed my belly and whispered to the baby, but now I understood it was a performance, a means to an end. He never wanted a family. He wanted freedom and money, and he had decided my death was the price for both. But he underestimated me. I didn't fall apart. I didn't let fear paralyze me. I listened to my instincts, and when that nurse asked the question that exposed everything, I refused to look away. I fought to stay conscious, to speak, to protect my child even when I could barely move. That moment redefined who I am. Not a victim, not a statistic, a survivor. When I left the hospital, the sky was clear. My mom walked beside me, carrying the diaper bag, and I held Lila in her carrier, wrapped in a pink blanket. The world outside the hospital doors felt different, sharper, realer. Every sound, every face, every second felt borrowed, like I was walking into a life I'd nearly lost. Back at home, the silence was harder. The apartment still had traces of him, his jacket on the hook, his cologne in the bathroom, the crib we had built together in the corner of the bedroom. I packed it all up piece by piece. Some of it I burned. Some I gave away. I kept only what belonged to me and Lila. A fresh start didn't mean forgetting. It meant choosing what to carry forward. My mother moved in with us for the first few weeks. She watched Lila while I slept, made warm meals, and never once asked if I was okay. She knew I wasn't. She just stayed close. Her presence reminded me that love could still be trusted. I started therapy soon after. I needed a place to speak the things I couldn't say out loud at night when I woke up sweating from dreams where the paperwork had worked and no one had asked questions, and my daughter had grown up without me. Talking helped. Writing helped. Holding Lila helped the most. People ask me now what I learned. I always say the same thing. Listen to the voice inside you that says something is wrong. Do not explain it away. Do not soften your instincts to protect someone else's feelings. If someone makes you feel small, unseen, or unsafe, believe yourself. Love is not supposed to confuse you. It is not supposed to hide things from you. It is not supposed to make you question whether you will survive it. The second lesson is simpler, but just as powerful. Put your name on your own paperwork. Read every line. Ask every question. Protect yourself, even in the moments when you think you don't need to. I almost didn't make it to motherhood, but I did. And now every morning when I pick up my daughter and feel her breath against my shoulder, I remember why I fought. I remember that some battles are won not in grand moments, but in a single word, a single question, a decision to speak when silence would be easier. Nathan thought he could erase me with ink and lies. He thought I would never see the trap he had built around me, but I did. And now I live every day with proof of my survival in my arms. She is strong. She is safe. And so am I. I was meant to die that day. Instead, I brought life into the world. If this story moved you, if it made you think twice about trust, instinct, or the quiet strength we carry even in our darkest moments, then I ask you, share it. Share it with someone who might need to hear that survival is possible, that your voice matters, that sometimes asking one question can save a life. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you felt, what you thought, or if you've ever faced a moment where trusting your gut made all the difference. And if you want more true stories like this, raw, real, and unforgettable, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, you are never as alone as you think you are.